problem with people in India is they equate success with how much money have you made. Are we being manipulated? I don't watch TV. I don't watch too much of Instagram or TikTok or whatever because I like to make my own decisions. And so I'm neither left nor right nor center. One reason I think why Donald Trump won was he had a point of view on everything. Howsoever crazy, non-traditional, he had a point of view. People like leaders who can make decisions.
What do you think has made you who you are today?
One thing.
Thank you so much, Sabeer, for having me at your humble abode. You have made my college life so amazing because the moment I entered to my college, I came like you for my undergrad. So when I was trying to make friends, when I was say that I am from India, I used to say the founder of Hotmail is also Indian. They just know about India one thing, Shah Rukh Khan or poverty of India when I started my life. And I used to feel so proud introducing myself. I'm from India, and don't forget, Hotmail, which you guys have used, is also founded by an Indian. Right now, people see you as a very successful person. How do you see yourself?
First of all, success is all in the heads of people. And Indians pay over, the whole culture is success, success. What is success? The point of life is not to be successful. The point of life is to find happiness. The problem with people in India is they equate success with how much money have you made.
Correct.
I'm telling you, my life experience has taught me that money does not translate to happiness. Purpose of life is to find meaning in life. Every one of us is born with a purpose. Some of us are meant to be athletes. Other people are find happiness in just doing a small amount of work, opening a small store, making a flower shop. But going home happy, just making sure that they, just get fed, and that's it. That is happiness. Happiness is finding your own purpose in life. And it's not success. Everybody's successful. So-and-so is successful. Indians have gone mad. They've lost the meaning of life.
I totally agree. I think money and power is seen as the biggest relationship with success. And I personally think that, finding meaning of life also comes at the right time, right moment. I remember when you launched Hotmail, it was on the Independence Day. You chose the right timing. You talk about in your podcast, it's not just about building the best product. It's about having it at the right time. Dropbox, it was before 2000 people tried building something like Dropbox too, but it came to be successful in 2008 when they were right infrastructure to back it. And similarly, can you walk me through the day why you chose Independence Day, 4th of July, America's Independence Day, to launch Hotmail? What was that day like?
No, first of all, our product was something that freed you from being at your desktop. Mm-hmm. Previously, when you wanted to access email, you had to do it through a particular piece of software, Outlook or Eudora or IBM's Notes or whatever.
Firewall.
Lotus Notes, yeah. Through a specific piece of software. So first thing is we made it available on the web. Mm-hmm. So that made it a lightweight version. But because it was available on the web, we gave people ubiquitous access. They could access it from anywhere, from any web browser. In those days, people didn't have mobile phones, or at least internet-connected mobile phones. That is why you had to go to a computer, type in something, and get access to your email. So because the theme was free email, and it was freedom from desktops, we chose the American Independence Day, 4th of July, as the day on which we will launch it, because then people will realize, here is a free product that frees us from encumbrances of using desktop software. And, we thought it was a good marketing idea to write off of Independence Day.
100%. Like Hotmail changed Microsoft forever. It drove not just changes to Windows of Microsoft, but it would also become Windows Server, and it laid the groundwork for Microsoft push into data center market too. It has groundmaking influence not just on Microsoft, not just on us, but throughout the whole world. It is the foundation of free email. So when you were trying to sell it for like 750 million starting with and later negotiated to $400 million, how did you figure out the right value for Hotmail for Microsoft at the time?
Listen, I don't think we knew what we were doing in the long run. I mean, but for a company that was not making any money, 400 million was a pretty good number. And that was the equivalent of $1 billion had we gone public. So we just short-circuited the whole going public part of it and said, here's money on the table, and it's an opportunity to partner with the largest company in the world and largest software company in the world. And it felt like the right thing to do.
100%. I think my audience is like a lot of 18 to 20s, 25, who are trying to build exciting stuff for Gen Z market and for the consumer market. And I want to teach them the kinds of acquisitions. You have expertise in acquisitions. And when companies get acquired, there are three kinds of acquisitions. One is product, number two is people, number three is business. And business is the most expensive acquisition you can charge for. When you're making money as well, when it gets acquired, it'll continue to make more money, and you take the people if you want to and the product. So when you were selling Hotmail, I think I would say it is kind of product acquisition, right?
It was network acquisition.
Network acquisition. So it is
not just product, it was a network of people, 10 million subscribers.
So people acquisition and product. So it would come in
No,
that.
people, when you say people acquisition, typically people acquisition means the team. People who are building the company, not your users. But in our case, it wasn't just the product, it was a successful product with a lot of users, eyeballs. So they really acquired 10 million eyeballs that were growing.
So product plus network, the users you had.
The network.
So did you ever think, why not I make some revenue out of it and sell it as a business, which could be even bigger?
Yeah, it would have taken us time. You see, Google didn't make any money for 6 years. Most networks, first you take time building the network. 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, whatever. And then you start making money. And I think that's one thing that people, Gen Zs, especially of Indian origin, have to realize. You don't start making money right away. People come and they have, I've got 220 customers, 200 customers. I'm like, yeah, it's hard to get 200 customers unless, the product sells itself somehow where customers are buying, because I don't see you making 200, relationships in a year or 2 years. I think we are too caught up in the jargon, and we've got to get off that jargon bandwagon, because using too much jargon almost, intuitively feels like fraud, like you're overblowing, you're touting your horn too much. I think that is a general philosophical problem with a lot of people coming out of India. And maybe it stems from the leadership, it stems from chest thumping, beating, whatever. People in India have to learn how to value humility, like understate and overdeliver, not overstate and underdeliver. Like in India, people say, software, हाँ, हो जाएगा, अगले हफ्ते तक हो जाएगा. 3 years later, that अगले हफ्ते has still not come. That, not to save face immediately, but it hurts you in the long run. We're not here to make a product. Tell me, if you say 6 months, take 6 months, but deliver in 6 months.
100%. We are measuring the wrong things in life. For example, measuring working 90 hours a week, 70 hours a week. And here people measure efficiency. No one is talking about work that many hours. Instead, people talk about 4-hour week more than 90 hours a week. It's insane.
Because purpose is to get the job done. You have to know what your objectives are, and you have to go fulfill those objectives. And while doing that, you have to have fun. Simple. That's a simple rule in life. We in India take life too seriously. पढ़ाई करना है, इतने marks लाने हैं. My kids don't worry about marks. I don't care about marks. I care, do they learn? Have they learned the idea, the concept? You see, in India, we store everything in our frontal vision, which is short-term memory. Study for one exam, memorize like crazy, regurgitate, move on, next. Have we taught our kids anything? And everybody shows off. My kid got 99. I don't fucking care your kid got 99, you know. It's rather he learned than got 99.
100%. Like, I want to give an example. I was doing, studying in India versus US video. In that, I clearly saw kids who are studying in Silicon Valley in a private school. They talk about that, let's say you have studying 5 subjects like English, physics, chemistry, math. India mein, you're expected ki 5 mein, you can be average, but 5 mein 90 plus you should have. But in the US, if you're getting like 95 plus in one subject, they're like, go from 8th to 12th in it, 8th to 11th. So they help you succeed and move up the ladder where you're already good at, instead of pushing your limitations to an average level.
Yeah.
So make your best thing even best.
Specialization.
Yeah, that's what capitalism has taught us. Like coffee beans from Colombia, cheap labor from China, and the intelligence and the intellect from US, the combination of whole world power comes here.
Yeah.
So that should be the idea, rather than just like restricting ki manufacture bhi yahi pe karna hai.
Focus on creativity. You see, India has to choose what it wants to specialize in. It's not specializing in anything. It's becoming jack of all trades, and that to a cheap jack of all trades. That's the wrong. Like, for example, for the longest time, 20, 30, 40 years, Germans specialized in making good autos. Right? The US specialized in software, semiconductor business. All of it was design of semiconductors. You don't have to do manufacturing here. I mean, that is a concept, but it will never work. I can tell you why manufacturing will not work in the US. Because at least manufacturing of 10 years ago was mostly low-cost labor. Manufacturing today is different because it's highly automated. Robots are doing manufacturing. So now manufacturing makes sense. But you shouldn't say, we want to bring manufacturing here. Those are nice statements, but they don't make any sense. I mean, they're not real world. You should do whatever you're good at. Like you said, if you're good at math, do math. If you're good at history, do history. If you're good at music, go pursue music. You're good at photography, go do photography. People follow their passions over here. And I think that's the right way to enable every human being to live a meaningful life. Find your passion in life.
100%.
Because in India, everybody is forced to be successful hai ki nahi? Successful hai ki nahi? Means everything relates to paise bana raha hai ki nahi? Arey, paisa is not the be-all and end-all of goal. Passion for what you do. You like to sell, go sell. You like to market, go market. You like to create products, you like to code, do code. People do coding because their parents tell them they're forced to do it, not because they love it.
That's how world looks at TSMC as well, because it is the best chip manufacturing in the world. And that's now coming to the US with the automation. As you mentioned, like manufacturing is different than what it used to be, because I saw that even China doesn't have cheap labor anymore. Yeah. China is also, I just came from NVIDIA GTC. I totally agree with what you're saying. NVIDIA GTC, mein, like Foxconn, it's showing how they're using GPUs powered by NVIDIA at their Foxconn library as well. That is now possible in the US because you're bringing the robots with the intellect. Now manufacturing can work. So now I want to now go into the causations and correlations which made you who you are today. You came for undergrad in the US as a transfer student to Caltech and then Stanford. So I want to discover, what do you think has made you who you are today?
One thing: critical thinking. The ability to think outside of the box, take a problem and solve it in a unique way. Entrepreneurship is not about dhanda. Entrepreneurship is not about business plan, at least modern entrepreneurship. If you have to write a business plan, I'll put in so much money. This is my cost. This is my selling price. This is my profit margin. These many people will be required. This is what I'll do. I'll hire so many people. That's not entrepreneurship. Then you are missing the point. That happens when you're a big company and you have to spend on R&D, do this, do that. Investing money in a business and trying to get money out is not entrepreneurship. That is copying. Like all of what Ambanis do is all copying. It's not entrepreneurship. Nothing is innovative. They just have a trader mindset. Most people in India have a trader mindset. If it's done somewhere else, we'll do the same thing. We'll just copy it. Entrepreneurship is about a unique way of solving problem using technology. I have always been a problem solver in life. I get a problem, I figure out how to solve it in a unique way using technology. And these kind of ideas that are world changing don't come about every day. You can't expect to just wake up and every day have an idea. Tomorrow I'll do it. I mean, their time scales are warped. Like somebody said, how come you've not done anything since Hotmail for 27 years? Sorry, I didn't, God didn't make it happen for 27 years. I've been thinking about issues and problems. So sometimes you have to be in the business, you've got to be critically thinking about ideas, products, where the world is moving, where AI is. And maybe you hit upon a good idea, but you have to be constantly learning. Ideas don't come because you pull one from the air and every 2 years you have an idea. Ideas come when you critically think about the world, the universe, where it is. What can you do to make it better? And what problem are you solving at the end of the day?
100%. Like, I remember when I was reading the book of Steve Jobs' documentary, Walter Isaacson also says that when the East and West of US was just thinking about present moment, US was the only country thinking about next 10, 20, 30 years, something which is called think different, which Steve Jobs brought, something which is unthinkable. And thinking that far is really hard, which US teaches you. Do you think you became because of US? Like you would say you are a visionary founder now. You would think you became because you came to the US, or it was an innate ability in yourself?
Because two things. One, I think I had an innate ability too. I'll tell you another question that some priests, French priests who came to St. Joseph's Boys High School asked all of us in class. So we'll give you 50 rupees in those days, 50 rupees. If you answer this question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Somebody said engineer, somebody said artist, somebody said this thing, that thing. I was the only one who raised my hand and said, I want to be a human. I technically won those 50 rupees. They didn't give me 50 rupees, but they're like, that's the right answer. So when you think like that, then as you start thinking critically about problems and problem solving, you don't think about dollars and cents anymore. Apple is a great company because it doesn't sell features. Some folks in India, I remember in the early days of the phones, they were selling things as this is the clock speed, this is the processor speed, this is the memory on this chip, this is the screen type. Apple doesn't sell. Apple sells emotions. Here, take this. It will emotionally, you will connect with your photos, your music. It has a lousy radio, but you'll connect with your photos. And then, by the way, we'll open it up for anybody to create apps that will help you become, use this for whatever purpose. It's a platform. You want to, send WhatsApp, you can do that. You want to, pay your parking ticket, you can do that. You can pay by phone, for a parking meter. So it solves problems. The phone solves problems and emotional problems. Humans live for emotions. Humans they don't live for money, and they're not economic units of consumption. Ultimately, each of us is defined by our relationships. Apple enabled you to capture your closest relationships in phenomenal UI, your photos, your videos. BlackBerry didn't do that. BlackBerry was just an emailing device. Look where BlackBerry is today. So the key is to identify what emotionally drives and see if we can use technology to delve into human emotions.
Interesting. So by coming to the US, you got to experience the timeless things which always remain the same. Something like emotions, psychology, human behavior. It remains the same, which you understood by being in the US. And then you could figure out that, I can build around what is timeless.
No, the US also, there was one big thing I think that was missing in the way education is imparted in the US. I was a product of Indian education where you couldn't ask any question. Every teacher was just going to go and say, shut up and listen. Okay, listen. This is one way. Whereas over here, my very first paper first of all, you don't write papers in India. I was asked to write a paper at Caltech. And first of all, 10-page paper. I've never written a 10-page paper. Intimidating. So I read all the 3 books and I basically summarized the ideas of those 3 books and wrote the paper. I got a D. The teacher said, yeah, I've read those books too. What is your point of view after you have read those 3 books? That is critical thinking. That is, how do these 3 books stimulate your mind? And because I want to see original ideas and defend them. Show me what is yours. What is your original idea? Not what you've copied. That changed my thinking forever.
It's fascinating. I remember in my college too, in my undergrad, in English class, I was supposed to write a research paper. I was like, why they are teaching me? They said, no matter what major you will be pursuing, research is part of every single study you can think of. And that fascinated me. Research teaches us how to critically think of a subject and formulate your learning. Research is not inventing something new. It's critical thinking and giving one perspective. LLMs today came because one guy at Google thought of LLMs connecting as a transformer and just wrote a paper. Then OpenAI, Ilya Sutskever, picked it up, picked that learning, that perspective, and created what we have now, ChatGPT. And this is evolutionary. I think when we understand research is not about inventing, but understanding and critically thinking, as you're saying, I think India will change.
And that's why I have thought about this problem very deep and said, in my lifetime, I cannot build the number of universities that the US has in India. It's physically impossible. We'll need 10,000 colleges, right? Or universities. Can we, using technology, teach critical thinking to all the people of India, including the uneducated? And I have devised a program that can do that.
Netagram?
No. Showreel.
Showreel.
So Showreel is a program which doesn't matter. You need not even be educated. But if you can think critically, I'll show you some videos. You understand the basic subject matter from those videos. But then I will ask you some critical thinking questions, which hopefully stimulate your brain to think for yourself. So the kind of questions I ask, there is no right answer. Unlike in the Indian system where you have a right answer or a wrong answer. If you get a right answer, you get 100 marks. If you get a wrong answer, you get 0. No. This is, any answer is right as long as you can defend it and say, why did you think of it? How did you think of it?
And same idea you brought to Netagram, you can study the politicians and decide for yourself what policy is useful for you.
That's it.
And you vote for that person.
That's it.
So, like, we have to think like that as compared to just the algorithm giving us information and giving us opinions, because we are not what we chose to become. It's what our algorithms chose to make us.
But so then we have to use our critical thinking skills to imagine, are we being manipulated? That's the only question. I mean, I don't watch TV. I have TV. I don't watch TV. I don't watch too much of Instagram or TikTok or whatever, because I like to make my own decisions on the way the world is. And so I'm neither left nor right nor center. And I think we are coming to an age where you can figure out how a person thinks. And based upon how they think, you can predict their next move. Like, one reason I think why Donald Trump won this last election was he had a point of view on everything. Howsoever crazy, non-traditional, he had a point of view. People like leaders who can make decisions quickly, like on the spot. You ask me a question, what's your best answer? I will give you my best answer based on instinct. That is true intelligence. Whereas Kamala Harris didn't have an answer for anything. People would ask her, how is your policy different from Biden's? No answer. So when you have no answer, the Gen Zs pick it up right away.
At the same time, if you see, Democratic Party was written which we represent. There was no white men in it. And Donald Trump basically tried to represent everyone. And like, whether it's tech, crypto, whether it's, robotics, TSMC coming to the US, anything you can think of, any tech advancement you can think of, he just tried to resonate with everyone. And you talk about, with your app, Netagram, or with your videos, that in this world, for a Gen Z, being apolitical is not an option. You have to figure out, what do you represent? Can I ask you, like, what do you represent, or what do you, not like party, I will say, what policies you think of represent you, and what do you see the future of the US tech industry in the next 4 years?
I don't know. But what policies I represent? I think policies have to encourage out-of-box thinking, creativity, all kinds of new ways of thinking, whether it's crypto or it's blockchain or it's AI. And innovation, if it breaks the old rules, we should follow rules for the spirit of the rule, not the letter of the rule. Because, I mean, like I said, Uber, let's say, could an innovation like Uber have happened in India? I'll say no. No chance. There are 200 people overzealous to implement the law. You are breaking the taxi cab regulation. We'll arrest you. Really? I'm trying to solve a problem using technology that makes people's lives better. You don't want to make people's lives better? No, because it's a rule. Rule is a rule. I almost never came to the US. You saw my Instagram,
Yes.
right? Because of some rule. And I said, I don't want you to break the rule. The rule says you can only allow 25% of foreign exchange. It doesn't say, but it also doesn't say that the student must get 75% of financial aid.
And you got 72%.
Which is close enough.
That was insane. Like, you almost didn't come to the US because India, which is yours, didn't want to change. But Caltech, you were not even belonging to Caltech at the time, and they just negotiated with you.
That's not negotiated. They gave me. They wanted me. They're like, once we made a decision, we want you. You're a good student. We want you here.
Like another example is Airbnb. No one thought people will allow their homes to become hotel for someone else. Like someone can live
Because
in.
there is trust over here.
Yeah.
It's a trusting society. We are a trustless society where we try to screw each other for small things. I mean, that is the problem. There is no trust amongst, we have to build that trust. Economic trust, value trust, and trust today, because it's a trustless society, we are sticking to some arcane, outdated viewpoints of us identifying as you're Hindu, you're Punjabi, you're South Indian. No, we are human first, Indian next. And then after that, what our religion is like, what is the color of my handkerchief? It's just a different way of thinking. If we just somehow proliferate that way of thinking amongst people in India, I'm telling you, the future is phenomenal for the country. Somebody has to teach everybody, when you look at a human being, don't first think they're Hindu, they're Muslim, they're South Indian, they're this, they're Malayali, they're Gujarati. No. They're first human beings. Then they are Indian. And then whatever their religion is, who cares? Doesn't matter.
100%. I think, that's how innovation happens. Like, I'm going to give another example. A lot of people talk about why government is putting so much into crypto, blockchain. There are startups getting funded into blockchain. People see no use cases right now other than like sending money for cheap different countries. If the same thought would have been by Dutch when the boats were invented, why should I go in the ocean? I don't see any island. If the same thought was by NASA, why should I go in the space? I don't see any success rate. I might die. We wouldn't have reached to space. We wouldn't have found it in America. So thinking about possibilities, 99% it can fail. But thinking about that 1% chance and betting on that's what America teaches us.
Yeah. Now, it's not just betting. Once again, you're doing it for economic gain. You're thinking wrong. I like pursuing out-of-box ideas just for the thrill of pursuing out-of-box ideas. They may fail. I don't even care if they're successful. You are overly saying, they've got to be somehow financially successful. I'm like, I don't even care. As long as you take human thought far enough.
After you sold Hotmail to Microsoft, in the last 27 years, what were the highest and lowest point of your life? Because you're continuing to build stuff. For example, you can take a look at your startups like...
Once again, you're focusing on my career is whatever it is. Doesn't matter. High points and low points are all related to human relationships. It's not about financial success or who cares, doesn't matter. We are overly concerned. As a result, we are so concerned of looking good. The whole country is lying. Our GDP is all wrong. And you just need 2 seconds to take a look at how they are computing GDP. You see, GDP in the United States or anywhere in the world is computed based on the amount of human hours of effort put in by everyone. Everybody has an hourly rate. Everybody figures out how many hours of effort you put in, and you report that to the government, and you pay a certain amount of tax, and that determines your GDP. In India, if I give you 1,000 rupees, 18% GST is taxed on it, and you give back 1,000 rupees to me, 18%, it's counted as 2,000 rupees of GDP. You've done no work, I have done no work. I've just given you money. Giving money is not work.
Correct.
Work is work. I'm saying this is basic math. We are getting GDP wrong. And yet we're going to become a 4.2 trillion. We're going to become a 20 trillion, 15 trillion. I don't effing care how many trillion we are making. We are counting it wrong. We're not producing the GDP like we should be producing by just exchanging value.
Interesting. Yeah, I think there needs to be more understanding of how economy works. How do you think India can fix that?
Easy.
How?
So the way India fixes this is to first make sure that everybody is based on an hourly system. How many hours of effort they are actually putting into their work. And every human being is valued based upon their hourly rate. And you create an hourly rate for different categories of worker. For let's say manual labor, this is the hourly rate, minimum rate. For restaurant workers, this is the hourly rate. For a lawyer, this is the hourly rate. For doctor, this is the hourly. Now you know how many hours people are putting in of effort. Hours of effort lead to progress, not transactions.
So GDP has to measure basis on, like, we have to divide by hours of work done for every money, every dollar coming in.
Not dollar. Once again, where you
Every money.
You are confusing your brain because you are getting overly concerned about dollar. Don't worry about dollar.
Okay.
How many hours of effort did people in India put in? Simple. That's it. Only when you put in effort do you get a positive outcome. But then, of course, every human being has a rate. People who are extreme thinkers, maybe their rate is 1,000 rupees or $1,000, $2,000, whatever. But when you do that, first you do a number of things. Everybody feels they are participating in building the country. Because they're putting in effort, and a small portion of that effort is going to the government.
Correct.
In terms of taxes.
100%.
But first they are earning. They're earning some money, and a portion of that earning, that's why you lead to this kind of progress. If we just change that mindset, and you can't change it in the older people because they are stuck in their old ways. But you can change it in the Gen Zs. You change this in the Gen Zs, that you say, everybody keep a track of how many hours of effort you're doing towards work. Think of it as work.
But it's so hard to change in states like Bihar, where people care about government job and retiring. You have to go really. I personally think it's one of the biggest problems.
I'll change everything. I know how to change it. Put everybody on a contract. A contract is what? A promise with yourself. You will self-report, you will do this. And help you be honest in your reporting. Simple. Use AI. Massively use AI.
Interesting. Now, can I segue into, like, you have traveled the world. Have you been to China as well?
I've been to China once only.
So why do you think China is giving so tough competition with the US? And do you think China can win? Giving like ChatGPT, better model than ChatGPT 4 at 1% of the cost, 99% cheaper. The DeepSeek movement China represent as like the Chinese proud movement. They have even restricted the founders to go outside the country. So they're producing the highest number of STEM workers in the world, more than India. And like making better batteries. Like what US does is they innovate first, China copies and improves it to the next level. How can anyone compete with China?
India can. India has to adopt a different work ethic. China still values anybody who is willing to, people who graduate as engineers work as engineers. 99% of Indians who graduate as engineers join management and start giving gyan to everybody. Where is the work ethic where they really work with their hands and really go and build some stuff? Here, people value anybody who does work with their hands. And yet he's the software guru of India. He's the business guru of dealing in, body shopping, not software. Till we change our work ethic and we actually start doing work with our own hands and start doing and respecting people who write software, who write code, who do things, or who, think about these problems in a critical way. You can't just wake up one day and why has China got it? We don't. Well, we've got to change the education system. And in China, thanks to communism or whatever, it educates everybody.
Yeah, it's like subsidized education, subsidized cars, everything there.
Free.
Yeah, free.
Everybody is educated. We have to first educate everybody in our country. Everybody. right? Education today is the prerogative of rich. And what do rich do? They want to just get education and go and marry somebody and get dowry. And what kind of thinking is this?
So you're saying that if India starts focusing on educating more, follows the China's model, and like focuses heavily on education, they can also
Education and critical thinking. Education, well, like I said, in my lifetime, it won't happen. You can't build 10,000 new colleges or 100,000 new colleges, but we can teach critical thinking through an app, through technology. If everybody starts thinking critically and says, let me help solve a problem, let me help each other, solve your problem, solve somebody else's problem. Happiness comes in solving other people's problems.
So when you think about solving problems, like a very interesting problem that comes into my mind is like AGI, which you talk about, like AGI, everyone wants AGI. You say that AGI won't come from LLMs because LLMs are based on patterns. So do you think AGI will come from US, China, or any other?
I don't know. You're asking me stupid questions because this is not what I should be worrying about in my brain. Where will it come from? How do I know where it will come from? Am I God? I don't know where it's going to come from. I am only equipped to think critically. I'm just saying, rather than following the conventional model of using only language tokenization, think of something else. But think. Once again, you're asking me about a result. Where will this result come from? How the hell do I know? Nobody knows. Anybody who knows or guesses is lying or is taking a wild ass guess. Nobody knows. But like I said, and this comes back to the Hindu philosophy of Gita, which is result is not in your hand, only effort is. All you should be asking me is where else should people look for AGI?
100%. Like think
Not where will it come from? I don't know. But think on your own. Okay, the whole world is thinking through LLM. Don't think on LLM because the whole world is already thinking. That's what Sam Altman just said. We are already thinking. We've got money, resources, people who've been thinking. No point in thinking through this. Yeah, the Chinese DeepSeek guy said, no, we are thinking different. Because they thought different, they innovated in that itself to say, okay, let's break it down into. It was a simple idea. I'm saying that's one way of thinking. Another way is saying, maybe let's look at a different vector space to try to pursue AGI, other than language. Maybe it's images. Maybe it's instinct. Maybe it is that. That is critical thinking.
I see. I totally understood your point. So, like, it's about thinking differently, just like Microsoft discovered the new kind of quantum chip. They called it like another state of matter. Like thinking differently and coming with new ideas. We can't predict right now where the technology is heading. We cannot. I think people love to know about that. So that's why I asked, because predicting future is something people get fascinated by. But you are so true that if we think about new ways of solving problems in quantum, in physics, in technology, new ideas will come. It doesn't matter where it comes from.
Exactly.
If we can continue to make it better, we will continue to grow.
That's it. Always be humble. Don't try to predict as if you're God. Only God can predict. God knows what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know. But I have to be humble enough to know I will try my best. I will learn something new. I will think of something different. If I get a different idea, I will pursue it. That kind of thinking is called critical thinking.
In terms of critical thinking, what problems excite you right now? You continue to try hard to keep building stuff in the last 27 years. Most of people, like, they become VC and like try to retire and just invest. But you are still visionary. You know how to attract talent. What ideas and problems excite you right now? How you see them critically?
Okay, so a number of things that I'm working on that are different, that have not been done before. Like one is a new human-machine interface that will enable you to consume data at a much higher rate than you can currently consume just by visually manipulating the data.
Interesting. For example, like ChatGPT can have limited context windows. They can't have like, your 100 books. You can only have, that's what you're saying?
No.
Can you elaborate, please?
No. It's the way you consume data visually.
Visually, okay.
So currently, let's say you can watch one video at a time by swiping.
100%.
Imagine if you could watch 100 videos at a time.
Really? Mind is not ready to visualize that.
That's what you think. I think differently. I think the mind is ready. So that's a different way of thinking in the non-linear space.
Okay.
That's one thing that excites me. Then how to foster entrepreneurship, especially in a developing country like India, let loose the entrepreneurial spirits of 100,000 people. That's another area of, I'm kind of focusing on.
Yeah.
Critical thinking through the app.
Sure. I saw the app actually. Like you're fostering like how people can develop their own ideas about LLMs. You give them videos and ask them to figure out what they learned. Critically, think about it.
Yes, because that's what leads to new ideas. One of the other things I'm doing in that is we've created an agent, Agent Ed, which is an education agent. For now, we have inserted all NCRT textbooks in it. And so if you're a sixth grader, you can say, I'm in sixth grade, help me answer this question. And from NCERT data and textbooks, it answers those questions for the kid.
Fascinating. So you live in the US, your heart is still attached to India. Even the app you launched, Jackster, you started in the US, but you targeted Indian audience. And
instinct. Today, my instincts were correct. 90% of WhatsApp usage is India.
100%.
And so that's what is happening even with social media networks. Any social media network that you look at today, whether it is Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, more than 50% of users are from India because the largest English-speaking country in the world. So that is why Natagram also, the reason we want to do it in India is we think there isn't a political social media app, and Natagram could be that.
I agree. I think US is so divided because of social media. Like I see so many Teslas getting attacked because it's politically divided.
Yeah.
Like, we are, because of what social media has taught us, and Republicans and Democrats, they don't marry each other. Like, this app, I truly believe if like we study India properly and not let social media teach us politically, India won't be as divided as US is right now.
Yeah.
So, and my final question here will be, you understand finance, GDP, how nations fail as well. Can I ask you, like, how do you see US right now with GDP to, like, the debt to GDP ratio of 130%? What do you see? What do you critical see?
Doesn't matter. Irrelevant. Doesn't matter. That's not a problem.
Okay.
You're looking at the problem in the wrong way. And the problem is this. US has really solved one problem very well. Economy, they have understood, is not a zero-sum game. India, we think it's a zero-sum game. It means managing the households of the expenses, and this thing of India is like managing a household. It's not. The purpose is to create, the purpose of money is not to conserve money, not because you have a limited supply of money. Imagine money is unlimited. As long as it creates employment, meaningful work, and happiness, just print more.
That is a really unique perspective. I'm very fascinated by it. A lot of economics scare me. I sometimes get sleepless nights over tariffs. Oh, economy is in danger. These headlines blow my mind. As a Gen Z, I can relate. So many investors who are young, they start making money, put in stock market. Oh my God, it's going to be over. That's something scary.
Tariff is the wrong thing. That's why tariff, for example, you see, trade helps all economies grow. Let's assume there are 10,000 traders, 10,000 people in, let's say, in Canada that are selling maple syrup. And there are, to the US, a simple example. And let's say there are 10,000 US companies selling phones to Canada. Right? Let's assume we are buying more maple syrup than we are selling phones. There is a trade imbalance.
Correct.
It doesn't matter. Both sides are employing people. Both sides are seeing their individual businesses succeed. Why does there have to be a balance of payments in the two sides? That's just a number that you keep track of, but it is irrelevant to employing to the two economies.
Okay, so you're saying that like what Donald Trump talks about, trade deficit is a problem.
It's not a problem.
It's again with China, we talk about, that's why tariffs are increasing with China, because there's almost $1 trillion deficit.
So what? They are better at manufacturing, we are better at design. We live in a global world. Why does the balance have to add up? Like, now you're saying that means each of us has to be a zero-sum game economy.
Yeah, so tariff is against that idea, right? So you're punishing them for making better maple syrup, and tariff is the idea we manufacture in US. And
both will lose.
Yeah.
Because if they are not making maple syrup, they won't have money to buy the phones. We'll sell less phones, they will sell less maple syrup. Both sides will employ less people.
100%.
How is that good for both economies?
It's bad for both. So that's why people fear.
That is what I'm trying to tell you. Our concept in India is all messed up because nobody understands global economics. Simplify it to first principles and you'll solve the problem.
So India may be like, so what Donald Trump is trying to do is tariff as a negotiation game. So tariffs are ended in all, that's a game, right? So if there are no tariffs, there'll be equal opportunities.
That's it.
So in social media, in internet, there are no tariffs. So
That's
the
it.
best product wins.
That's it.
I understood your point. So right now the tariffs are to actually have an even market, not to actually punish and lose in one side.
That's it.
I understood your point. Fascinating. And one last question, if I can ask you, if you have 5 more minutes.
Sure.
So I want to ask you how US was different when you came as a student. I came for undergrad as well. You also did. What do you think positively, critically was different then and now that new Gen Zs can learn?
Listen, I think there was just an awareness problem in the US of how people from India lived and how we grew up, and, you know, notion of it being like a backward country, and it still is a backward country. I mean, but, you know, the thing is, we are smart people, but we are not putting our smartness to good use. We're not thinking, all of us thinking for the betterment of all of humanity. I mean, you've got a few Ambanis and Adanis, but that's bad. That's unequal distribution of wealth and shameless, you know, flaunting of wealth. Where is that good in any society? You know, when people who show off, like they spend beyond their means because they've got ill-gotten wealth, it's somehow seen as a badge of honor. How come? I mean, the whole society is structured wrong. We need to change all of that. And that stems from whether it's corruption, this, that. I mean, there is brazen corruption in India and people of India are tolerating it. How come? There's something wrong. There's something seriously wrong in the fabric of our society.
And you mentioned it can be fixed when the power is equally distributed. You talk about it in videos, right?
Yeah.
When nations hold power in few hands, that's when nation breaks.
That's right.
And when we can kill oligarchy, when we can, like, for example, AI is giving power to more people. That's
right.
brings more equality. Fair game on the internet. When more and more things like this, more and more applications like AI, more power is distributed towards the people, it'll give fair chance for everyone to grow and more competition. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sabeer. It was wonderful talking to you. Thank you for valuable time. And any final advice for Gen Zs? Like, you talk about, like, if they want to build, get some experience and be mature to start a company. You still hold that opinion?
Yeah. Think critically. Don't jump into it because your friends are doing it, But yeah, the traditional job market is drying up. So start thinking creatively, but be willing to do anything.
Yeah, I think that's a great note to end. You can do anything you want, but you cannot do everything. So figure out what you're best at.
That's
do it. Thank you so much, Sabeer, for having me. And it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.